professional, and I have had 2 decades handling human beings, great human beings, and inhuman beings. So coming back to the human beings, I think I come back with an HR story itself. So an entrepreneur wanted to hire a business head. HR guys automatically came with 2 CVs, almost same kind of experience, same GPA scores, same Ivy League college, good background, professional as well as personal. So everything was just top class, but both of them were almost parallel. The entrepreneur said, okay, call them over for dinner, I'll decide. The dinner happened in a fancy restaurant. After the dinner, let's say it was candidate A and candidate B. So the entrepreneur turned to candidate A and said, you're hired, congratulations, I'll see you soon. And turned to candidate B and the obvious, said, sorry. And like all of you, the candidate B wanted to know why. So the story starts here. The entrepreneur says, do you remember when we entered the restaurant, a gatekeeper opened the door, and you were so busy talking about your ambitions, you forgot to say a thank you, but this guy did. We went to the elevator, there was an elderly lady standing. You made way for me, but that elderly lady, he helped the candidate A, and he got her in and did whatever he had to. So summing it up, you both were very polite, but candidate B, you were polite only with me, and candidate A, you were polite with almost everybody. Talking of conduct, what is conduct? The English meaning is the way we behave in a particular situation or place. What is the genesis of conduct? The genesis of conduct is the action, the thought, and the speech. So I have kind of jumbled up a bit, but what is important is that when you do an action, when you work on an action only, you really don't reach what is the thought level. So what was the thought level of candidate B? Candidate B actually thought that I have a world-class CV, I'll just make it, I just have to impress the entrepreneur, and I got the job. The communication, what he did, his body language was arrogant. What he did, the action was that he didn't get the job. The thought level of candidate A, I don't need to explain, had a positive thought, and of course he got the job end of the day. It's a 3-level process, and all of us who believe in that, if you haven't worked at the thought level, say, for example, you're irritated about something, about a person. What happens when the person comes in front of you? You say something rude, or your body language is rude, or do something which is not pleasant. If you don't work at that level, at the word, speech level, then what happens? You go to an action which probably is irreparable. And that is what happens with the organizations as well. You know, have you heard a boss shouting? Even in educational institutions, everywhere, the boss shouts at the subordinate. What happens to the mental space and the productivity of the employee? Does he get enhanced? The answer is no. When he's been insulted by the boss, what happens is he goes spiraling low in terms of his motivation. He feels like an outsider, and nothing helps. The work doesn't get done. Look at the thought level of the manager. The manager's thought level is, I have to get the work done. And the moment you change that thought level to saying that he is part of my team member, he might need guidance, he might have an emergency, immediately your action would be, do you need any help? Do you need any guidance for this? Do you think I can do better? What happens to the mental space and the productivity of the employee? It's a no-brainer. You know, he excels, he feels included. What he did earlier, the thought process which was there, it is an anti-organization objective. You don't want people to leave or people to just go because they have not felt included in the organization. So conduct is something which, if an organization works at the conduct level, nothing will change. And if they haven't improved at the cultural level, then you will keep getting skeletons from the drawer, and no matter, these days people talk of gender sensitivity. It will keep happening because no strict rules can actually manage behavior. No temporary policing will help getting the culture in place. So it's very important that you work at the thought level. and the thought is purified, and the moment the thought is purified, your action is accordingly displayed in front of everybody. So this is what we talk of a conduct, right? Now let's come to the sixth sense. The moment we talk of sixth sense, we come back straight away to the thought, to the five senses what we have. Now I think all of you know what five senses are. So what happens? We all know sound waves are heard between 20 to 20,000 hertz. Quantum physics is although trying to explain things that there is sound below 20 and above 20,000 hertz, which is infrasonic and ultrasonic sounds, which is there, right? So what we are doing in our world and lives is we are taking decisions based on limited data available. There are many women in this hall, and I know that every woman at one point of time, whether she is walking on the street or entering the room, will of course know if there is some ill feeling somebody has. That person wouldn't have said any word, done any gesture, but still you feel uncomfortable. What is that? That is sixth sense. All of us have sixth sense. Some of us have it naturally, some of us have to cultivate it, and some of us choose to keep it closed. But trust me, all the good business leaders, be it Ratan Tata, Narayan Murthy, even Steve Jobs, all of them have had an access to this untapped reality. That's why they are calm, composed, and intuitive leaders. You know, Steve Jobs a lot of times have also mentioned about when his company was taken over, he was here in the mountains of Rishikesh to untap this energy within himself, to ignite the energy within himself, to go back with new rigor. And what was that? Basically connecting with yourself. And that's why I say that futurism of conduct is future of managing your thought. So unless organizations and individuals have managed yourself at the thought level, your action will always be different from what is your core. So do this small exercise when you go back home. You know, just think about it, some irritable incident, you know, for which you probably feel like giving a punch. Go back to the thought level and start thinking, why did it happen? Why did you come to that level? Give it a little bit more positivity. You will definitely see a change in what's the action you're doing. And it happens to all of us. You know, there's nothing new. So coming back to that, the reality of today's workplace, the future leaders, the companies who are going to make it to the future, and the organizations who are the future workplaces, all of them have to develop this resilience, empathy. Otherwise, you know, if you don't develop this sixth sense, the business conduct as your ears and eyes, you will get a surprise one day, and out of the blue there will be two cultures which will emerge. One culture which is there postered in your walls, plastered everywhere in the organization, proclaimed in your website, and another one will be what your employees, your consumers, your customers will experience on day-to-day basis. And I'm sure the new world, the future of workplaces, is going to make sure that there's no room for mistakes. The reality of contactless economy is going to be true sooner or later. Working from home, remote working, gig economy, etc., is going to happen, we have already started to see the glimpses of it. And in this contactless world, if all of us are not having that empathy to deal with one human being to another, where we'll have flatter structures, no hierarchies, nobody to shout at, and if we don't stop looking at the rear view mirror, if we don't stop doing what we are doing today, we will never be able to go ahead and making sure that we reboot our organizations, ourselves, change the patterns, you know, making our own conditioning, which has been for years for various things which has happened in our workplaces and in our own lives, unless we change the conditioning of our mind, our thought process, we are either going to be extinct or making sure that we don't do business the way we want. So with that, I want to sum up. Why am I talking about managing your thought and end of the day, managing the future of the conduct, what each one of you are going to be the future leaders if you don't imbibe. I think the world is changing in the digitized world of tomorrow. It is very important to have the future of conduct, the sixth sense, being conscious and in peripheral vision. Otherwise, what will come out as a culture will be completely different from what you actually think about. So the impact will be straight on the culture of the organization, of your homes, of your well-being itself. Second is empathy cannot be organization driven. And with organization, I mean even institutions cannot be driven. It has to be lived by each one of you who's going to be the future leaders. Each one of them who are the leaders today and each one of them who are going to be leaders tomorrow. You have to drive it in the new workways. You have to bring in kindness culture. You have to start looking at things differently. And lastly, futurism of conduct is managing of thought at a transparent level. What happens when you are transparent? Everything can be seen. You can see each other, whether you're right or wrong. So unless you're transparent at that level and see what is coming, your communication level will not improve. So the moment you're transparent, your communication is bang on. You're ready with your business, you're ready to face your employees. You can also predict. You know if there is any unrest. So there'll be no undercurrents happening. You will exactly know what's going to happen. And lastly, the results, which is the business success, is bound to follow.
I really resonate with the fact that you said that empathy cannot be organization-driven, right? But organizations can be empathy-driven. So as like members of teams or leaders, like what can you do as part of your culture, or how you behave to kind of try and bring that as part of your company culture? How can you push that sentiment of being empathetic or working with kindness?
Okay, I want to give a short and sweet answer. Empathy is the moment you start seeing from another's eyes. Empathy is when you start hearing from others' ears. Empathy is the moment you start feeling from the heart of others. So basically what I want to say is, the moment you start putting yourself in somebody else's shoes, as a leader or as an individual, you will see the world differently. What Sixth Sense does is, when you listen to your instincts, it expands your perception. So you're not only relying on the five senses, what is giving you the information. The decisions are not limited. You are not making your decisions with the limited data. You're actually looking at things beyond, and that's why empathy brings in a lot to your own purification process. And not only individual, but I'm also talking in the context of organization. The moment organization starts putting themselves in the employee shoes, in the consumer shoes, in the customer shoes, they will see the pain point. Lots of things can be plastered on the wall, proclaimed in your website, but end of the day, your customers will feel that there is delay in delivery, there is customer pain points are not sorted out, employees are leaving, and so on and so forth, So haven't you heard that people leave the organization? The top 5 reasons why people leave the organization is bosses' conduct, but it never gets captured. It never gets captured anywhere, because the employee who's leaving is thinking of moving on. Why would I actually, bother to talk about things negatively? But end of the day, when you have to run the organization with actually bare minimum talent, and you keep losing your critical talent, and you don't even know why they are going, because you really don't have your intelligence system in place, then someday you will get a big, great resignation. The undercurrents will be there, and then you will only get to know when finally the person has decided to resign and leave. So you have lost a talent, your money, your expenses. The most important thing is the knowledge.